Rocky was rudely awakened at the early hour of 10 a.m. by what was becoming a very unwelcome sound these past few weeks.
Hot, 2, 3, 4. Hot, 2, 3, 4. Move it, you lazy fisher cats!
Yelled a shrill voice.
How will you learn to obey my every bidding if you can't even learn to march right?
Rocky yawned, stretched, and peered over the edge of his nested house high up in the treetops to watch the parade pass down below. That shrill old hag was leading the way again, followed by what appeared to be a small army of fisher cats desperately attempting to walk in file side by side. They kept their heads down and seemed to be nervously following the hag as she carried a funny-looking big stick. Rocky was becoming slightly annoyed with these early morning wake-up calls, but was also very curious to watch the parade pass by him and disappear into the forest. A cunning little guy, Rocky had a mischievous side to him and enjoyed playing little practical jokes from time to time. He sat back in his nest house, scratched his chin, and began to ponder how he might have a little fun with this incessant parade. Rocky had observed that the parade follows the same path every morning, and it might be fun to get a little surprise for them.
Perhaps if I dig some sort of trench, fill it with water so they get all muddy when they walk through.
Rocky chuckled to himself.
No,
He reconsidered.
I'm not very good at digging. Perhaps if I pull some branches back really far and tie them off, set them to a trigger, and then the trigger is pulled, the branches are released to spring back and whap them in the face.
Rocky found that quite funny and laughed out loud at his brilliant idea this time. But after deeper consideration, Rocky then considered,
No, I'm not strong enough to pull those branches back. Let's see.
thought Rocky.
What am I good at? I can climb. I can do fine detailed work with my fingers. I can see really well in the dark.
Rocky sat back and considered his assets. After a couple minutes, he sat up, pointed his finger in the air, and cried,
Eureka! That's it!
Rocky now had a job and an adventure that was going to occupy his day. Rather than rolling over and nodding back off to sleep, he now had an exciting goal to accomplish. If you knew where to look, the forest was full of creeping ivy vines that covered the forest floor and often grew up on the trees. Rocky began gathering as many as he could and hauled them up to his nest house high up in the trees. After a couple of hours, he had a considerable length of ivy vines amassed. With his agile fingers, he began to weave the vines together in a sort of crisscross pattern, back and forth, weaving a mesh that became long. When long enough, he began adding rows to the mesh, making it wider and wider. It took a while to make, but Rocky worked with a smile on his face when he thought of the surprise those fisher cats were going to get. Finally, his mesh was complete. He sat back and admired his work, thinking,
What a big fine carpet mesh I've made! I'll wait until nighttime to install it so that no one will see me, just in case those silly fisher cats walk by.
Rocky then began collecting acorns. Picking up as many as he could carry, he'd climb up high in the trees to his house to drop them off, and then quickly climb back down to gather more. Once again, before too long, Rocky had a huge pile of acorns amassed. After completing more work than he is ever used to doing this early in the day, he felt he had deserved a well-earned nap,
I have everything I need.
thought Rocky.
Now I'll just wait until dark to put it all together under the cover of the night.
With that, Rocky nodded off to sleep with happy dreams, thinking of all the fun this will be. After an extremely relaxing day, Rocky yawned, stretched, and enjoyed the beautiful sunset high up in the trees.
Time to do some reconnaissance.
He spoke to himself. He climbed down and meticulously surveyed the path that the old hag and silly fisher cats marched every day these past couple of weeks. He looked up at the canopy of treetops and back down again at the tree roots that protruded from the ground. Before long, he stopped, looked up, and then down at the roots. Back up and again down. Finally, he looked back and confirmed that this location was still visible from his nest home.
Oh yes, this'll do just fine.
He smiled. Rocky ran back to his nest to fetch his carpet mesh, and back to the location where he was going to set up his little trap. Scampering up the tree, he securely fastened one side of his carpet mesh to the strong branches above the path. He then climbed a little higher and began securing the carpet mesh to some branches on another tree so that the mesh spanned the path. This time, Rocky applied a slip knot that would easily unravel when the right piece of ivy woven into his carpet mesh was pulled. Next, Rocky took the single long strand of ivy he had woven into a strong but thin rope and looped it through all of the slip knots he had just created. Having completed this, Rocky then winded his ivy strand down the trees and secured it to a twig strategically placed and hidden in the middle of the path, just a few feet further ahead on the path than where his carpet mesh laid hidden above. This ivy is the perfect camouflage, he thought as he once again admired his work. The ivy is so natural to my forest that they'll never see it. Feeling satisfied, he knew that he still had more work to do. Rocky climbed back up to his tree nest where he had stored all of his acorns and collected the first batch in a little bag. Although it was only a handful of acorns, it was all he could carry in one load.
Oh boy,
Thought Rocky.
this might take a while.
After about 20 trips back and forth, the carpet mesh was finally full of acorns. This time, Rocky wanted to once again admire his work, but he was getting very tired from all his exertion. Rather than prolonging it, he climbed back up home to take a rare nighttime nap, nodding off once again to enjoy happy dreams. It was now morning, and Rocky was up early. He was unusually rested for this time of day after his nighttime nap, but also very excited to see how his practical joke was going to go off. Before long, Rocky heard the familiar sounds.
Move it! Move it, you lazy fisher cats!
Shrieked the now familiar voice. The fisher cats obeyed the old hag, terrified of what would happen to them if they ever were to make her upset. Rocky watched in silent anticipation as the parade made its way along the path past his nest home far down below. As they progressed along, he was giddy with excitement of what was going to happen next.
1, 2, 3, 4!
Continued the hag in her shrill voice, walking step by step and waving her funny-looking stick. All of a sudden, the old hag heard a twig snap beneath her feet, and then the sound of pitter-patter behind her. She spun around and saw a barrage of acorns falling from the sky and pelting all the fisher cats all over their backs. The fisher cats had no idea what was happening as the little acorns continued to bounce off their thick hides. Rocky couldn't contain himself and rolled over laughing out loud. He laughed so hard he thought that he began to tear up from the comedy. The old hag spun again, staring wildly up into the treetops trying to find the source of this laughter. She pointed her funny-looking big stick in the general direction of Rocky's hidden nest house, and shot a bright red beam up to the top of the tree. Then another bright red beam at the next tree, then another at the next. Rocky immediately realized that he had made a mistake, and that this might be a practical joke he could soon regret. He scurried along a branch from his nest house and onto the neighboring tree. Branch by branch, he made his way from tree to tree. This left a wake of rustling leaves behind him, giving the old hag a clue to where the sound was and where the sound was heading to. Bright red beam after bright red beam kept exploding into the trees following the sound. Poor Rocky, now terrified, moved faster, but in his crafty way he began to zig and zag until he was able to double back towards the direction he had come from. The old hag continued firing her funny-looking big stick, but she was now shooting in the wrong direction as Rocky had cleverly placed himself behind her. The fisher cats dutifully followed their master, looking up into the trees to find the culprit for this prank. Rocky thought best to get out of here while he was behind the small army and they were walking away. Quickly he scampered down the tree, jumping the last couple of feet and landing with a bit of a thump. The sound made the fisher cat trailing the pack turn around. Seeing Rocky a little way down the path, he yelled,
There he is. There he is. I see him.
All the fisher cats turned and saw the frightened Rocky frozen in fear standing on the path.
What to do?
Thought Rocky. Out of nowhere, a strange but friendly voice urged.
Quick, get on!
Rocky turned and saw a big handsome deer standing there.
Quick,
The deer said.
they're coming!
With no other options, Rocky climbed up onto the deer and they sped off. Danny raced like never before, and Rocky was amazed at his incredible speed. Danny knew he could outrun those silly fisher cats, but he knew that even he was no match for the witch with her magic wand and that she could catch him eventually. The witch, now realizing her army was gone, spun around and saw the last of them disappear behind a bend in the forest path. Using her wand to propel her, she raced after them and before long caught up to the pack,
We have them.
replied the first fisher cat that she caught up to.
Who?
Said the witch.
It's a no good raccoon, and he's riding on top of a deer.
That deer!
Cried the witch.
I'm finally going to get my venison stew!
With that, she raced as quickly as she could. Far up ahead, Danny disappeared behind another turn in the forest, leaving the leading fisher cat far behind, just as the witch was now at the head of the pack. Danny knew that he was in even greater danger than the raccoon he was carrying if that mean old witch ever caught up to him. The distance from bend to bend was getting shorter, and with each bend, the fast witch was getting closer and closer, still managing to just see Danny disappear up ahead. Danny was racing towards his destination, praying that he could get there in time.
I'll get you! I'm coming for you!
The witch yelled. Hearing this, Danny was unfazed. So close. Yes, so close. He was now a short distance ahead of the witch as he disappeared around the next sharp turn in the path. Only this time, Danny made an abrupt stop dead in his tracks.
What are you doing?
Asked Rocky.
Be silent.
Danny urged. He quickly ducked down and disappeared into this hidden hole through the thickness of the forest. Having just disappeared into his secret passage, the witch flew right past them. She looked ahead, expecting to be almost right on top of them when she was shocked that she wasn't about to finally catch that deer.
Where did they go?
Rocky was still clinging on to Danny as Danny silently crept towards the back exit of his secret passage. The witch was now sure that she had been fooled and turned back to see where they were hiding. Going slow and looking around, she was listening for any little sound to catch her prey. Almost at the back exit, Danny could see the witch through the thick brush, scouring the path. He knew any sound would give them away, and he could only pray that they would not be seen as they remained motionless. The witch paused as she approached the opening of Danny's secret passage and sniffed the air.
I can smell you, you filthy creature!
Called the witch, but she didn't know where. Danny watched in silence as the witch slowly moved forward, now right in front of the entrance. He couldn't believe that the witch kept moving past. Danny waited a bit longer until the witch was clear, then cautiously exited his passage and back onto the familiar trail, finally sprinting away to safety.
Who are you?
Asked Rocky.
Danny, I'm pleased to meet your acquaintance.
How did you find me?
Rocky continued.
Well,
Said Danny.
it was the most curious thing. I was off on my morning forage, and off in the distance, I heard what sounded like a hailstorm. Very curious for this time of year. Then I heard a creature roaring in laughter.
Rocky snorted a chuckle at this.
And then I heard that evil sound that I heard before, and I knew someone was in danger from that terrible witch.
A witch?
Asked Rocky.
Oh, yes,
Danny continued.
and a mean one at that. She intends to eat me. But nonetheless, I made my way about a quarter mile to where the sound was coming from to see if I could help.
A quarter mile?
Said Rocky incredulously.
Well, I have excellent hearing, and I am very fast.
Danny modestly replied.
I'm a deer, after all.
Rocky softly uttered,
Indeed you are. Are all deer as nice as you?
Absolutely.
beamed Danny.
I'll take you now to meet some of my best friends ever.
You're sure they'll like me? And that they'll be nice to me?
Cautioned Rocky.
You see, I've had quite a scare this morning and my nerves are a little bit frazzled.
I'm sure.
Replied Danny with a smile.
They're the best.
Sammy, Beatrice, and Martha were sitting on what had quickly become this great group of friends' favorite meeting place. Sammy had turned the old clearing outside of Beatrice and Martha's homes into a beautiful garden patio with comfy chairs each designed for their occupants, a beautiful fire pit, and a buffet board. Sammy and Beatrice were laughing away as Martha poured them each a cup of tea. She then walked over to where Freddie sat nearby, handing him a cup just as he likes it.
Why over here, Freddie?
Asked Martha.
Oh, I'm just excited about the new arrival.
Freddie replied. Freddie didn't look too excited, he just looked as cool as he always does. But by this point, Martha had learned to stop asking Freddie so many probing questions and just to trust him. Do you mind if I join you?
I would be disappointed if you didn't.
Laughed Freddie. Martha plopped down beside her friend, looked at Freddie peacefully staring up at one of the paths, and then looked in the same direction. It wasn't long before Danny appeared and proceeded towards the garden patio. Martha smiled at her approaching friend, and as Danny got closer, Beatrice burst out,
Danny's here! But who's that with him?
asked Sammy. Danny trotted onto the patio and happily stated,
Friends, I would like to introduce you to a very nice raccoon who I've just met. This is Rocky.
and then turning towards Rocky, he continued,
Rocky? These are my friends.
Welcome.
said Freddie.
Would you like a cup of tea, dear?
Asked Martha.
A what?
Rocky replied,
Oh, you are in for a treat.
said Martha as she served him up. All six friends sat together getting to know each other. Rocky began to recount his story of how he spent his past couple of days, and what he had observed with the witch and the fisher cats. He paused to try his tea, taking a little sip, savoring it for a moment, and then with a smile looked up at Martha and exclaimed,
This is delicious!
Martha beamed a smile back at him. Rocky continued with his harrowing tale, describing this army of Fisher Cats and how the mean witch was drilling and training them. Finally, after Rocky concluded with the admiration and extreme gratitude he felt towards Danny, he sat back in silence, appreciating this nice warm environment he was enjoying with these wonderful new friends.
Oh, that witch!
Stewed Beatrice.
When are we going to teach her a lesson?
Soon.
Replied Freddie in an earnest tone.
There is one more friend that we still need to make the acquaintance of.